Well, this is Baruch Fleischman. I'm here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. It's time to look. This is our third share here in regards to the Matak B'Devash and the Pirush on the Zohar that we're learning in this week's Parsha. The Matak B'Devash is a tremendous thing. Down here in the bottom, let's see. It tells who this is, who wrote this book. Chover Be'ezus Hashem al Yidecha Harav HaTzadik HaMakubal, Rabbi Daniel Frisch. This man's name was Daniel Frisch. He was a chassid who got involved in the Holocaust and survived. After the Holocaust, many people died of typhus. Typhus going around. Everybody was weak and sick. It was a terrible, terrible situation. And he was with many of the people from his town survived. They were deported from Eastern Hungary, Romania, that kind of area. At any rate, he was dying. And he wasn't dead. They put him on top of a coal car, and they started leaving. And where they're going, they were going back to their hometown. There's stories about this that I've been told by survivors, that the Gentiles that were in their own, had taken over their homes. And they'd taken all their possessions out of it, and they didn't want to see them. And there were riots and people killed, many people killed, from the burghers of the different peoples in their little hometowns in what was then Romania or Hungary. At any rate, he had a vision in his dream. He was starving. He's riding in a coal car because they figured he was going to die, and they didn't want him near anybody else because typhus is contagious. He must have been sick, like who knows how sick he was, and he was dying, and he had a dream, and in the dream there was a loaf of bread. And he knew that he was on a coal car, and he looked, and he saw, yes, there was bread there, and he ate the bread. And when he got done eating the bread, he was well. Now, it's a strange story. So from this position, this is the way he saw it. He realized that he was very close to the hand of God. All of this thing that he went through, and he moved to Israel. He came to Israel as a refugee. And he knew that he wanted to dedicate his life to the study of Zohar. Now, Zohar was something that was studied in his village. It's the Rebbe of that town. I didn't get the details of that. And so then he came and he started to study. He found a wife who was conducive to the way he wanted to live his life. And he raised children. And he lived a great deal of time in Meron, at the kever of Rabbi Shimon, because there came all kinds of Mekubalim, and he wanted to know everything there was possible to know about this and study the Ari at the same time. And so all of this happened over the course of his life. And in the end of his life, he completed the very land. This is, I can't verify it for sure, but at the end of his life, the way to say that his life ended when he completed the book. He completed all of the pirush that he had, and he died. So that's Rabbi Daniel Frisch, the author of the Matak B'Devash, which means sweeter than honey. And so it is. So we've been learning over here in Parshas Yisro. Right? That's our Parsha now. And I think we went around a little bit over here, and we're over here now. So we'll come to the conclusion of this and finish it off. So the Zohar had said, let's see the Zohar here. I guess we could work them both together. Let me bring this down a little bit closer. Maybe we'll see a little bit better. So he says like the Pasav Rebbe Elazar v'Omer. Rebbe Elazar began and he said, Ki masha kasav v'lo yerocha v'noi rekam. Do not appear before me empty-handed. Now this had to do with the concept of going on the 3 foot festivals that were part of the Jewish tradition, and still are. But here it was to be presented with to present yourself with a sacrifice. Rotzel Lomer, he wants to say like this, He says, Do ihu rosa de zakifa de chutzboin. What does he mean by empty-handed? Let's go back to our eyes again. That lifting up the hands for no reason does not bring down a bracha. He says what? Kasher ha'adam zokef osam lomala, when a person lifts up his hands up above, Shetzarik shelo yiskof osam rekam behind bechinam, don't just lift them up for no reason. Ella b'tefilos, but understand there's a mechanism here, and it has to take place during the time of tefilos. Umusudados and musudaros musudaros obabakasho. So he says in different kinds of requests. Vapratius obabrachos rak oz yizkof yadav. Let me translate again. I had a hard time. Ela b'tefilus hamasudaros. So he means the tefilus that we have in the siddur. In other words, that we do 3 times a day, we pray, morning, afternoon, and evening. Babakashos pratius with specific requests. Obabrachos, so we're making a bracha. Rak oz yaskiv yizkof yada. That's the only time to lift up your hands. Because of, and this is written. So he said, Lo yiroa panai rekom. Don't let me see, don't you see my face empty-handed. Ki v'lo yirah l'fai lo kasiv, because it doesn't say you should not be seen before me. Lo kasiv. He says lo kasiv she'az hoya mashma. So if it would have said, don't appear before me, but it said v'lo yirah pana, you will not see my face, empty-handed. But it doesn't say you won't appear for me. It doesn't say just appear to me. Then it would sound like it's only talking about when you're going to the holiday. Ella ponai, but it says ponai, my face, cause of the Rebbe's, and this is the secret. So the concept of zakifas azbos, of lifting up the fingers. Because it's not proper to lift them up for no reason, as we mentioned. So that we should not arouse the upper face. That we should arouse that for nothing. So he says, this is why it says, then you should not see my face, which means lost bracha, rekom, empty-handed. Pirish lo Yisro v'lo yizgalu ponim elyonim. Don't reveal, don't cause the ponim elyonim to be revealed. Ayidei ha'maisach ha'gorem gilui ha'ma'oros, by doing something that opens up that channel in Malchus, which we said before is an opening. Galachem b'ma'oros elyonim shelo l'tzorech, for no reason, shuhu al yedei zekifas yadayim lamala, which takes place when you lift up your hands. Because then you see the shlita of the chitzonim, b'shefach hayored misham, that shefa comes down from there, but there's nothing going on. In other words, it goes to a place. We had this concept, he said, in the previous year. He says that tuma rests in a place of emptiness. If there's nothing there, this refers to people too, people who have no Torah. Automatically, tuma will attach itself to the emptiness. So he says like this also. So he says, because there's nothing to receive it. So therefore, that's the concept of it's empty. So now he says like this. Now we talked about those 10 angels that are appointed to come and pick up your prayers. These Sha'amarno La'el that we talked about up above, Shehememunim al mi shezokev etzba'isiv, which are pointed out of our that happened. It's like a string. In some way. You lift up your hands, these coming back at you. Einam yonkim misod eser spheros anelame b'chachma. Ki lo yisaken shahatzbos agashmios me'atachtonim ya'oruru es madregos el yona lamala beli emsoy. Now let's go over these words again because I had to read the whole thing. He says the union of the 10 malachim that are appointed, that come out of Malchus as a result of the opening up of Malchus, and the 10 spheros being mashpia, and that shefa is coming in the form of these 10 malachim. Shamarno le'el shehem amonim al misha zokev etzba'osav, so they're actually attached to the concept of lifting up the hands, he who lifts up his fingers. Einon yokim misod eser spheros hanelomos b'chochma, says that they do not, I think it's Einam Yokim Misod Eser Spheros, they do not feed from the secret of the 10 Spheros Hanelomos b'chochma that are hidden in Chochma. Hilo Yisakin She'atzbos Agashmios Atachtonis, because it's not made in such a way Shechatzbolos Agashmios, that the physical fingers atachtonis that we have, that are fingers, Yorda es hamedregos elyonos lamala b'li emsoy, that they could arouse the upper levels, medregos elyonos lamala, that is up above, b'li emsoy, without some kind of a middle arrangement. What is that? What is he talking about? Elavadai Haim sod asara ma'amaros shehem eser spheros shal malchus, but they actually come about as a result of the 10 commandments. Haim sod asara ma'amaros, the 10 commandments, shehem eser spheros, in the inside of the 10 commandments are the 10 spheros shal malchus of olam atzilus, shehu madrega hatachtona the mata b'olam atzilus, which is the lowest part of Atzilus. Now, where is he going with this? Misham Yonkim Eloch HaMalachim. So this is where the nourishment for these malachim come from. Besod Eser Osios Arushumas B'Shem Ben. Now he says the 10 letters that are stamped in the name Ben, which is Yud Vav Daled KK Vav 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 KK Shehem Shabbat. So I only see 9 letters, so I'm so very confused here, but I'm trying. Besod Eser Osios Arushimas B'Shem Ben. Shabbat, the name Ben that's in that. Shema Kolol Yeshbo Eser Osios. If you take Ben and you take a Kolol, you can make 10 letters out of it. Now, that's very complicated. I'm not sure that I see the connection between all of this, but I will read it again. So it's taken from Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, that 3 times you read it, can't get it after that, keep going, you'll get a better idea later down the line. Is a besod eser osios of Rishimos b'shem Ben. There are 10 letters that are stamped in the name Ben. And the name Ben is a name of 9 letters. So he says, again, the word besod eser osios of Rishima b'shem Ben Shabbat, so the Ben that is a part of Malchus. She'ima kola, if you take the root of that, yeshbo eser osios, then it makes 10 letters. Ka'ayin sheyesh lamala b'zer anpin, similar to what you have up above in zer anpin, is the shem ma. Now, this is a little bit more complicated than for the average person, so he says what you want to be able to do is to be able to take the main Ben, which is a permutation of the name, we call it a milui of the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, and which refers to the female aspect, the aspect which is the female pole. And Ma is another name. It's called the milui of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei of Olofim. So it says, so let's read it again. So he says, besod eser osis of Rishumos b'shem Ben, Shabbat, the name Ben that is in Malchus. Malchus is originally a Ben. It's a whole other story. Shema Kolol, you make it Eser Osi, now it has 10. Ka'ayin Sheyesh Lamala, like you have a Bezer Anpin, You have the name Ma sheyesh bo eser osios. Now, it's Ma has 10 letters. Ben only has 9. So you're going to match 10 on 9. But he says you take the kolel, and that makes 10 on 10. So therefore, you're taking the name Havaya, which refers to Ma, which refers to the name, actually, is the gematria of the word Adam, and you match it up with the Ben, which is 9, and its shorish makes 10. That is the nature of this unity. The idea of unity is the matching of opposites, the male and the female, the black with the white, etc. So all of this energy, the energy of the Ben, the energy of the Ma, is all taking place, because this is a language of yichud, of making oneness. All takes place with the lifting up of the fingers. It's bows, and with the lifting up of the fingers. Mitzvah kol ha-madregas ha-kedusha, b'makom mitzvah, or b'makom, I'm not sure how to pronounce this word yet. B'makom mitzvah kol ha-madregas mitzvah, b'makom mitzvah kol ha-madregas ha-kedusha misachados melamata lamala kedei laharosam melalo laelo. So let me read it again. Uvazakiva says bows, by lifting up the fingers b'makom mitzvah, in a place where you're doing a mitzvah. In other words, you're doing it for the purpose of a prayer. That's why you're doing it. He says, this is my third reading of this since I finally got shot. He said, Uvazakiva is bows b'makom mitzvah, in a place of doing a mitzvah. He says, call madregos of kedusha, all the madregos that have kedusha associated with them. Misachados melamata, they called a unity to take place, starting at the bottom, lamad melamata lamala, going upwards. Kedei his romem maalo laelo, to bring from that cause down below up to come into something that's going to bring a shefa back down. The emptiness, when it's crying out, it brings bracha. Oz calls spheres aklipos. Then all the spheres aklipos that sheneachazach b'tzvarnaim, that were holding on to your fingers, that attach themselves to your fingers, to your fingernails, shebe'esa etzbaos yadayim, that are on the 10 fingers of your hand, kulam niknoyin, they all become humbled down, beaten down. Mifnei HaKedusha, be in the presence of the Kedusha, L'malach umodim l'malach HaKodesh Baruch Hu. So that's the whole thing about fingers. I don't want everybody to run around and lifting up the fingers all the time. He says this is a good idea to do it during prayer. And he talked about the nails, he talked about the palms of the hands. I didn't quite get exactly which, but he said the palms of the hands have to do which is the part that you close and make a fist. That refers to the penimius, the light of penimius. And then the other side with the nails, which he just mentioned, is that around the fingernails, at the end of the fingernails, where the light flows through the end of the fingernails, according to the Uri, he says the Tuma gathers there, because it's a place, there's no connection. Once again, it's a place of emptiness. So this all takes direction, all thinking. This is Baruch Fleischman. It's been a very illuminating little piece of Torah here for me. Thank you very much for learning with me. This is the Tikkun Elevator Kolo.